the right
So,
time. That's what I meant.
these are all, I've done these all evenly, as you can see. But if we were to do them like the calendar, you'd have a thin spot here, maybe, of a thin spot, what might be maybe 100 years. You'd have an equal thin spot. Then you might have a very wide spot that might be maybe 500 years. Do you see what I mean? Like the calendars have bigger and thicker and thinner and smaller
and
pieces going all the way up it. And these thinner and thicker pieces, Marlena, this is a spooky thing. This is a spooky thing. These thinner and wider blocks of time, good and bad, correspond to our known history.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. So who told them?
Well, we're just about the top of the pyramid now, so...
Yeah.
Yeah,
but what I'm saying is they weren't alive when.
No, I know that. So
you know they're down here somewhere, creating this thing. But how did they know about all these things that were so many hundreds of years into their own future, like the Black Death, the Renaissance? How did they know about that? Who told them?
It would have to be predestined for them to know it.
Yeah.
And that opens up another whole thing.
See, exactly. This Mayan calendar thing is boggling because if you've, that's why I said last time it's such a thing to explain. It's not just an equal chunk. Let's say an inch big means so many years. That inch might be 1/10 of an inch all the way up for it's so hard to explain a time period. But it had
anyone can look at it on the internet.
Yeah, you can.
Yeah.
You might have to have my great brain to understand it. But I mean, it's what I want to know is how did they know about all these good and bad times that were going to happen long after they were dead and buried? Who told them? Because can aliens see the future?
Maybe aliens make the future.
Well, maybe they do.
Yeah,
I mean,
for whatever reason.
For whatever reason.
I mean, for someone to know the future and have it come true, it's either just a good guess or it's actually predestined, right?
Well, no, they would be guessing. They would be guessing all the way up for the Mayans. When were they around? I don't know the exact date that they were around, but they would be guessing well into 1,000 years of future.
Maybe the aliens gave them the calendar and they just copied it out.
Well, yeah, but who told the aliens? I mean, are we not self-determining? Are you saying that our Renaissance was programmed into us, or? And then, I think to myself, people get worried about things like aliens. I think if they wanted to do us in, they would have done us in already. Why would they give us all this stuff that we're going to anyway? I don't know how to answer that.
That's a tough question, Jan. I don't know how to answer that, really.
Yeah,
I really don't know the answer. Who does know the answer?
I don't know.
We're just guessing anyway.
I guess the questions would be, for me and Marlene and maybe you at home, is, first of all, where did the Mayans get this information from? What does 2012 actually going to mean? Does it mean the end of us? Does it mean a huge red brown dwarf star coming in from deep space called Nibiru? Does it mean that maybe, as some people feel, we transform, we converge, we, as Marlene was saying earlier on tonight when we were having a cup of tea, do we evolve somehow spiritually, that we move on from this place? Or is it just over? And
or is it nothing?
Or is it nothing? Maybe it was just a guy that got really sick and tired of carving. Or, one other thought. Let's say that some guy, Joe Blow, Aztec, or Joe Blow, Inca, Mayan, is carving up his calendar here, and he's carving away, and he's carving away. Maybe he just ran out of space.
Well, that would make sense, but you've already told us that the Mayan calendar, up to a certain point, close to the tip where it is now, has already come true.
Yep, pretty much.
So then that doesn't make any sense then. It's got to be real.
Well, there may have been another side to this that broke off. Maybe there was more to it, and we've just got a segment of it. I don't know. I think the calendar has been found intact, but it's quite likely that well, I know in 2012 we'll probably find out, won't we?
We sure will.
But I mean, it goes back to the Sumerians. They have this extra little planet kicking around out here in the middle of nowhere. They know it's out there because the
Planet X.
Yeah, the Planet X. They know it's out there because they've been able to, as our science gets better, they're able to see the pull, gravitational pull of some other large body out there in the distance.
That's pretty interesting too.
You know, one thing's for sure. You know, if it comes along, there's not much you and I could do about it.
Well, we're just going to get pulled along with the rest of the world, right? Whatever is going on.
We'll be sitting in the hearse with an umbrella over our heads.
Watching this giant stone fly towards Earth.
I don't think we'd actually
No.
see it hit. I think
No.
the shockwave would probably flatten us. But
Yeah.
you know, and
Wow.
speaking of which, Vancouver's due for a huge earthquake. I just saw that on the news last night. A 9-pointer.
Yeah.
So
There goes my glass collection.
there goes your glass collection.
I should build some.
I just
structural
hope that there's no tsunami coming this way.
Wow.
Probably would be too, because it'll be a subduction earthquake off the coast of Victoria, Vancouver Island. So
Well, there's lots of doom and gloom if we look for it.
you know, and we're always happy to bring you that doom and gloom.
Mm-hmm.
I'm doom and that's gloom.
I'm doom. Well, Jan, you know, you have really studied this a lot more than I have, so I'm kind of a listener too in this because you've spent a lot of time researching a lot of this stuff, and I really haven't. But
Getting scared shitless is what I've been
yeah,
doing.
but the thing is, it's really interesting. I mean, but who knows really? You have to sort of live through these things and look back and say, well, that did or didn't happen. Just like the big thing about Y2K. Remember that? How people just went crazy. How everything.
You know, that's a really good point, Martin,
Yeah.
because people did think at the time
Yeah.
that this is it. You know,
Right, they're buying tons of water and
Yeah.
I mean, they went crazy. People went crazy.
You know,
Nothing happened.
you know, everybody thought that what was the 1 minute after midnight in 2000 that
Everything crashed.
everything was going to crash and all the banks were going to collapse and all the stores were suddenly going to run out of food and everything that was running on a computer was just going to die. So that was like your defense system, your military
It was insane.
stuff
It was
and
insane.
computers and banks and food and you know and you got to wonder, Marlene, how many people were sitting there glued to their computer screen as the clock turned over into the next millennium and everybody's computer just stayed fine.
They had church. They had vigils in church. They had ceremonies. I mean, people went really crazy.
I was
really
just
crazy.
home. I didn't really worry about it at all. I
was just home too. I was
Yeah,
just saying,
I
well,
didn't-
if it
I
happens,
didn't-
it happens.
I
right?
didn't have any barrels of water. I
No.
think I may have given it some thought, but I'm kind of like you in a way. I'm not someone who wants to throw the towel in,
Right.
you know, because I'd fight if I had a chance.
Right.
But I'm also a realist, you know, and I think to myself, if there's a wall of water rushing towards Vancouver from an earthquake at 200 miles high or 50 or 60 miles high or
What are you gonna do? You're not
even
gonna be
50
able
feet high or 20 feet high like that one in the new year.
to- Yeah.
Exactly. What are you going to do?
Where are you gonna go?
Where are you going to go?
What I think is funny is that the city here, like a lot of cities, have every once in a while you'll see the sign on the main roads, disaster route. Believe me, if there was a disaster, you wouldn't get more than a block.
no, cars are gridlocked in Vancouver.
Yeah, they're gridlocked even on an ordinary day.
You know, the and the city is yeah, you're exactly right, Marlene. The traffic is just gridlocked. Vancouver is got a lot of earthquake buildings, but I mean, your average person's not living in them. That's the office towers downtown, and
They'd probably hold up better than a lot of the houses because they're anchored down,
yeah.
40 stories down. But I don't know, maybe
I'm-
no one's
I'm-
ever really put it to the test.
I wouldn't be too worried about a big wave because Vancouver Island would get it, and anything that came up the inlet
Acts as a breaker.
acts as a breaker.
Yeah, true.
The anything, I mean, don't hold me to that, but anything that come up the inlet would not be as high because there's not enough water out there to fill it up.